What it is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 5 of the podcast, the People's Podcast, should I say. 4 episodes down, and today is the 5th. And a lot's changed from the start, but a lot stays the same. One thing that has stayed the same is my co-host.
Hi, how's everyone doing? Hope you had a good week.
And his boring introductions have stayed the same. 2, thumbnails have changed, though. I like the new thumbnails. I have to give credit to Lyle for the thumbnails. He does all of that side of it. He does the editing. He does all that. I do the simple task of the tags, the title, the description. I've got the easy job. He's got the tough one. So we have to thank him for that. But if I'm honest with you, I didn't expect this podcast to even get much past episode 1, really. We were gutted about episode 1 and how poor it did. But, you know, it seems to be gradually improving. I mean, 42 views, 83 views, and lots of comments. And we are getting comments on the videos. I know, Lyle, you haven't had the greatest week for comments. But the one comment you did get was a really good comment. But today, we will be reviewing those comments in a minute, but we'll also be talking about a variety of topics in no particular order. Hopefully, it won't be as a retarded podcast as last week. Jesus Christ, I don't know what was wrong with that. I think we fried our brains to the point where we just completely and utterly lost the plot. But the topics for today, and I'll try and say this right because we've had a few failed attempts of my intro so far on this video. It's actually kind of rich that I actually took the piss out of Lyle's intros when I've just messed up about 5 times in a row. But the topics that we're doing today, we'll be talking about the Sidemen beef and our thoughts on that. Lyle knows a little bit more about it than me, but I've got my own opinions about it. We'll also be talking about what's been going on in the US over the weekend, Premier League predictions, and there'll probably be another topic as well, which hopefully we'll think of at some point to be able to do. Now, we are struggling for topics. The problem is we've got a lot of topics, but we were saying this before the podcast, we need to research a lot of them. Some of the conspiracy ones we want to do, we want to research them. We are thinking about the moon landing, so if you want to research it yourself, prepared for the eventual podcast, which will probably be in about 2020, then by all means go and do it. We're thinking about some other conspiracy theories as well. And if you want to follow us on Twitter, if we are doing a podcast that relates to a specific topic, then we'll tweet it out beforehand. So if you did want to do some research and get some background information, I'm not saying study it the whole day, but you know, so that you can sort of know what the hell we're talking about, then you know, by all means, we'll be able to make that possible. As for the kind of haunted, paranormal, that sort of stuff, we're going to leave that to October, which is kind of frustrating because a lot of our stuff is to do with that. But there's lots of topics, but at the same time, any more topics that you suggest would be awesome as well. Mini topics, bigger topics, fantastic. And we know all of your suggestions, and we'll no doubt be doing and integrating them as and when we can. But this has been a long intro. I will say, follow us on all our social media links. They are on the side of the screen, as they are every single week. And after this long-ass intro, I think it's time that we get in to the people's comments.
Okay, so I only got one comment on my video, but I'm happy that it's an absolute stonker of a comment. It comes in from Harry Gallo, and he pretty much just speaks about everything that we talked about in the podcast, obviously. He went into more detail about the evolution subject that we did talk about. And one interesting thing, I don't want to try and fry our brains as much as we did in the last podcast, but just quickly, he does say here, he's talking about, let's say, for example, how come in seconds something can go around the world, but why does it take us hours to get places, if you see what I mean? Why can we not take seconds to get places? But I just thought that was an interesting point that he brought up there. But it does get you thinking, like, why can't we get places in seconds?
But I suppose, to respond to his point, it's a fantastic comment. I really appreciate it as well. Really enjoyed reading the comment, and you know, I think he said in there in the middle of it, you know, I hope you're not pissed off or something with a comment. Trust me, we aren't going to get pissed off with your comments. Comments like that are brilliant. Comments of any sorts are brilliant, so we appreciate it massively. But in response to what you're saying, possibly we are kind of there, if you see what I'm saying, because, you know, you can be in Australia, Lyle, and I could, not that I'd want to waste money on calling you in Australia, fucking hell of all people, I wouldn't want to waste money on you, but I could ring you, and we could have a conversation, or it could Skype. I think that's free, so I might be able to do that. And in effect, I suppose I would be there, wouldn't I? My voice would be there, my sound would be there. You know, so I suppose we kind of can, we kind of not. I mean, if I'm on YouTube, you know, our videos here, you can view them all around the world. Unless you're in North Korea, you should be able to view our videos. There's other countries as well, but North Korea's the first one that came to my head. So in effect, I suppose we are kind of there, if you see what I'm saying. But I see what he's saying. I know he's not saying that. He's more saying, how does it take us so long to physically move from one place to another? I get what he's saying. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying, we're kind of there in a different sense. Which is kind of, I suppose, proves his point in how it's so confusing. But there, we were, as I said, we're not going to fry everyone's brains a second time. But really great comment. Right, well, what we'll do is, as promised last podcast, we will review the massive comment from Alan. He said in the comment that we can call him by his proper name, so we will call him, you guys might know him from KWE, but we'll call him by his proper name now, as he did say that was fine. And this was a comment on episode 3, which is the podcast where we discussed Dunkirk, we discussed The End of the World, which I thought was actually probably, I don't know what our best podcast's been so far. I mean, last episode was funny, in a weird kind of way. Episode 3 I really enjoyed. They've all been okay from a personal perspective. As a viewer, it'd be interesting. I don't know which ones you guys have enjoyed the most, but anyway, is there anything you wanted to pick out of this comment, Lyle, apart from again to just say thank you so much for the comment?
There was one point that I wanted to pick out of his comment, because he's Canadian and I'm British. I don't know if it's different in his country, but he's talking about Dunkirk and says that he hasn't seen it, but he says here, if and when Dunkirk comes to cheap theatres or cinemas, he will consider seeing it. However, to pay full price, not going to happen. Now, I only know of like one overall general cinema that you can go to in England, but I just wanted to know, is there like different levels of theatres / cinemas in Canada? Let me know, because that was something that I just found really interesting.
Obviously, we have different cinemas, but they're kind of similar price, aren't they, is what you're saying, yeah? I see what you're saying. I don't know, perhaps there is. I suppose there are cheaper cinemas. I suppose Thetford's a little bit cheaper, but not anything substantial. But no, it's a good point to bring up. I want to just touch on the WAP podcast again. Me and Lyle are working on that, along with some other people, although relations with a certain superstar at the moment, a certain person, is a little bit interesting. So we'll have to wait and see. Perhaps I'll see whether Lyle can speak to him at some point this week and see whether he's up for that. I think we probably want to do it in person, because if he started chatting something, I'd want to be there and not over a computer screen. But it just depends. We'll have to wait and see whether Harry's obviously who I'm talking in code. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm really looking forward to that podcast. And if he wants to be there, that's great. And if he wants to be a wet fart and doesn't, then also that's fine. There are other superstars, there are other people. It will be a shame because he was a massive part of WoW. He killed WoW at the end of the day. But so I feel he needs to be there. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to have an ask and see whether he can get in there. Yeah, I just really enjoyed reading this comment because I think it was just interesting. It's always interesting to hear, like you said, Lara, there's obviously differences between Canada and Britain, and hearing them kind of differences and differences. It's always brilliant. And the comments always have everything in it. You know what I mean? They've got a bit of humour. They've got knowledge. We can learn something. I always really, really enjoy them. Opinion, different way of looking at stuff. I really, really enjoy it. But anyway, there was another point that I did want to bring up, which has just literally slipped out of my mind, so bear with me a second. And I believe it was to do with The End of the World. That was it. When I was saying that I would like it to be drawn out, because, I just love... I don't know why I'd want it to be drawn out. But anyway, when I actually logically think about it, and when he does make the point of, poisoning and suffocation and drowning due to flooding and stuff like that, I can see his point. And I do now realise that maybe it being a massive thing and being like a film is probably not the best idea, and probably is better if it just goes, you know what I mean? So I see that point. I thought it was a good bloody point. I was being a little bit delusional. And I'll tell you one thing I do want to bring up, and I know it's not October yet, so I've kind of got to be careful here, and I won't give too much description. But I don't know whether I saw a ghost last night or something, but I was looking out the window. We had this meteor shower at the moment.
That was good. That was good.
I looked out the window, and one thing never to do, don't look out the window at about 12 o'clock when it's pitch black and everything, because, you're going to see things. And anyway, I saw what looked like some sort of entity just come across the window. It wasn't a person, but it looked like mist, it looked like cloud, but it was like miles too low for it to be there. Scared the living shit out of me. I'm convinced I saw, I don't know whether it was a ghost or I don't know, but it scared the flying fuck out of me. I just had to get it out. I had to say it out loud.
Just quickly, to get the people excited for October, do you have many personal ghost stories to tell of your own?
Oh, good God, Lyle, I have some damn good ones, and my family has some good ones, and I am going to try and speak to my auntie who has some good ones, my cousin has some good ones. I'm going to try and speak around and see whether, not that they necessarily come on the podcast, but I can get some of their stories down. It's going to be great. I've got some personal ones. That Christmas, I kind of told half the story. Have you got anything, Lyle?
I've got a couple, but I've spoken to my family about it a lot, but they don't really seem to. Nothing's really got. My family's boring. Nothing really's gone on, to be honest. So I'm glad you have. We're not going to go into any further into that topic. I just wanted to get the people a little bit more hyped and excited.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be exciting. And obviously, if anybody at home has got anything, it doesn't necessarily need to be, I saw a ghost, but just anything, something little that you thought, well, that was a little bit dodgy. Something that maybe you found an explanation. Maybe there was a genuine explanation for it. Still, the fact, those sort of things. So that is going to be fun. We are getting closer to October. Best year of the month. That really didn't make any sense. The best month of the year where all the greatest people are born, bar Hillary Clinton. I don't know who was born in October. Oh, I was born in October. What can I say? But yeah, I love October. It's a great month. It's just beautiful in it, Lyle. What a month.
What a month.
You don't agree. Let's go on to my other comments then, on to this week's episode of comments. We did get one from Salty Harry Holman saying, I think there's only one way to settle this, Cameron, since you've approached that so bluntly. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if he thinks we're back on the playground. I don't know. The guy needs to get a grip. Let's just move on there. As I say, I did mention, a little bit there with the WoW podcast. But there we go. Let's just leave that. As for nuclear weapons, this was one of my favourite comments in the whole entire world. I think it's just one of the most stupid, most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. I think this guy might be some sort of communist. He might secretly love North Korea. I don't know. But it came from James Henry Smith. And it said the following: nuclear weapons are all obvious hoaxes and don't exist. Missiles too, full stop. North Korea is a tool to scare the Americans. In brackets, still part of South Korea and capitalists. Now it should make sense. I think that last bit is arguably the bit that made me laugh the most. Now it should make sense.
He truly believes that. He's invested in those statements.
I replied to the comment, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, they were big hoaxes, right? And I basically told him to put his tinfoil hat back on and make sure he takes his meds. And I reiterate that point now, verbally. As I say, he's probably some sort of communist, North Korea apologist and whatever. But, I'm afraid to tell you, your last statement's not correct. It didn't actually make sense what you're saying. I'm sorry, James Henry Smith, but you are, as I say, the weakest link.
I was going to say that.
I thought it was Anne Robinson for a second. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. So we'll leave it at that. James Henry Smith, great name. Moving on to another James that's got another great name, James Prower. That is a decent name and not as delusionally stupid as the other one. Actually seems like a decent guy. He said, great video, lads. I hate that word. Really enjoyed this one. And yeah, I do get those thoughts sometimes. It's glad to know. Me and Lyle are glad that we aren't the only ones that get these thoughts. Because there was a point in the podcast last week where I did actually think maybe it's just us. But it isn't.
I'm glad that we haven't been taken away yet. We're still here
I'm waiting for the
week.
knock at the door. Yeah, I'm waiting for the knock at the door to take us away. But that is it for the comments review, unless you've got a comment that's just appeared, Lyle.
No, unfortunately not.
Unfortunately not. I'll just refresh my page and just check whether there's been 100 more comments. No, only 99. So we'll leave that. Only 99. I wanted 100, so we're not gonna go with that. But let's move on to the first topic of the podcast. And Lyle, unlike last week where I had to lead two because you didn't know the events existed, this week you're gonna lead one. It's a miracle.
Right, now we're going to be moving on to the diss tracks and the Sidemen beef that has been happening. I don't like the word beef, but that's what it is. It's been happening over the last couple of weeks. If you don't know what happened, basically it starts off with JJ, or KSI. He announced that he was leaving the Sidemen. Now, if I remember correctly, and I am not speaking out my arse, he didn't say anything to the other guys or the other Sidemen members and just did it. At the moment, he's out in LA with Rice Gum, so, he's doing that. So, after JJ left the Sidemen, Ethan or Bazinga decided to drop a diss track on him, and then Harry or Rotashaw dropped a diss track on JJ as well. JJ still hasn't responded at this point. Deji, or KSI's brother, or Comedy Shorts Gamer, then goes on to drop a diss track about the whole Sidemen. So we're getting fairly confusing at this point. Then KSI drops the response to Ethan's diss track. Then Mini Minter or Simon drops the response to Deji's diss track. And then the latest one that's just been dropped yesterday, KSI drops his response to Harry. Now, I think, that there's some good diss tracks in here, don't get me wrong. Some of them are absolutely shit, but some of them have got some good lines and they're okay. The only thing that the problem with me is I think this is all put on. I think they've sat down and then they've gone, the US scene is doing much better than the UK scene at the moment. I'm referring to Jake Paul and Logan Paul at the moment. They had some beef between each other. It shot their channels up so far, and now they're close to hitting 10 million, both of them. I think they've put on this fake beef just to try to make the UK scene a little bit more relevant. And it's doing wonders for their channels because they're all dropping diss tracks on the biggest member of the Sidemen that there was, which was KSI. Now, as I say, I think it's fake beef, and I think it's definitely picked up because I'm going to put some graphics on the screen about like Ethan or who else's channels are probably dead. Well, just Ethan's, really. His channel getting like 100,000 views a video, and then the Sidemen beef happened, and now he's up to 1 million, 2 million views a video. I'm going to leave it on my point, as I literally think it's all been put on, because there's got to be something in there, because you don't just all go in on each other as much as they have. Or they just jump, and reaction videos as well. They're all dropping reaction videos on their diss tracks, which is just getting them more and more views. I don't know what you think about it, Cam.
The only thing, I just want to say something quickly when you were describing it, and you did well, although my internet cut out and I could hear you halfway through it. But anyway, so I did start laughing, so you'll have to edit that bit out. I'll try and edit if I remember. Yeah, you did say like Rotashaw or Harry. Obviously, you mean like. Just for people that maybe don't know who they are, they're the same people. You just meant known as Rotashaw thing. I know that sounds retarded, but I just thought if you didn't know what it was, you might be confused by that. But I can't say I've followed it, as much as some people have. But I 100% agree with you. It's completely fake. Like, I mean, everything about it is fake. It is just the fakest shit I've ever seen in my whole entire life. And the thing I find funny is the fact that people are actually falling for this. People are so damn gullible that they actually think, that's happened. And the thing is, it's happening time and time again. Publicity stunt when the Sidemen all went black, and I don't mean like black in colour. I mean black with their Twitter profiles and stuff. Completely fake, complete publicity stunt. Failed miserably. Didn't work. Worked for a bit. Didn't work. People were like, actually, we don't really give a crap. And this is just another one. You're right. The Jake Paul thing. Blah 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 blah. It's all so obvious. What I think's happened is JJ spoke to him and said, look, guys, I want to move out. I want to move on. I want to try something different. They all said yes. They all got together and thought, well, how can we make this kind of, benefit us all? Well, let's make some fake crap and, manipulate our viewers into watching it and thinking it's just a load of shit. It really is a load of crap. And I'm sorry, love, you said the diss tracks, some of them are good. They're crap. It's just utter shit. The lyrics are terrible. It is just awful. Fake rubbish. It's some of the worst stuff I've ever heard in my life. I just think it's just a load of garbage. And the thing is, though, and I don't necessarily blame them for doing it, because if people are genuinely that stupid that they are going to believe it and believe it to be true and believe it to be real, then I'm sorry, but I don't blame KSI and Rotashaw and everybody for profiting on it. I don't blame them. It's resurrected people's channel. It won't last that long, to be fair. We know ourselves. If a channel's dead, it's dead. But they've made some nice money off it. Fans are so stupid, and I'm sorry, but Sidemen fans aren't the most idiotic fans in the whole entire world. I'm gonna be real. I'm generalising. Not all stupid, but the majority of them are just ridiculous. And, think about KSI fanboys back, when we were at school, when we were about 13, just pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. This whole situation is pathetic. But, it's working. I've got to give them credit for it. It is the fakest. If this is real, then Stephanie McMahon's boob job, and her boobs are real. It is the fakest shit I've ever seen in my life. The diss tracks are terrible. Rice Gum is getting involved. I can't stand him anyway. It's just much like most of YouTube drama. Manufactured rubbish. For views, for money, for profit, for everything. I just think it's dog shit.
The thing that I don't understand is, you say about Rice Gum, in KSI's first diss track to Ethan, Rice Gum's bit is not even about Ethan. He's going in on PewDiePie, on Jake Paul. Like, why is he even there if he's gonna if he's gonna basically rap about something that the diss track isn't meant to be for, if you see what I mean? He's just really there for views. He's probably got a studio that KSI can use. He's just there to get a bit more money, I suppose, and a bit more attraction to his channel.
Am I the only one that thinks these diss tracks are just the most immature, ridiculous things? It's like what you would do when you're 13. Everyone's acting like they're, from, Compton, from the streets, from the hood. It's just pathetic. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Nobody can rap. The lyrics are terrible. I mean, rap music in this country is so crap anyway. Grime is horrific. I don't understand the fascination with it. I'm sorry, but I've never met... I don't know whether you like grime, Lyle, because you might actually be able to help me in this experiment. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Right. Explain to me what it is you like about it. Or do you just simply like it because everybody else likes it and it's a kind of cool thing to do? It hurts my ears listening to it. It hurts my ears. I get to the end of it and I feel like my ears are bleeding. I'd rather stick a pin in my ear than listen to some of the crap that comes out. It's just garbage.
For me, I think the reason why I like it is because I like such a wide variety of music, and because of how... Because grime is a lot more quicker than actual rap is, and that's what I like about it. You can't understand jack shit what they're saying.
Well, exactly.
But
so how
it's only the beat that really gets me. If you see if the beat is good, it doesn't. For me, it sort of takes away. Even if the lyrics you either can't understand them or they're crap.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I don't just like all grime music. I mean, Stormzy's brought out a couple of decent tracks. I think what irritates me is how when he brings out a track, everybody's singing it, everybody's talking about it, and it just pisses me off. You know what I mean? Like, some of his stuff isn't that bad. There's that Eugene, whatever his name is. Please tell me I didn't pronounce that wrong.
Eugene?
Uningi. I don't know, Lal. I don't know what his name. He done Comfy or something. You know that song? All right, just shut up. Anyway, I like rap. I don't hate grime music. I just think a lot of people don't actually truly like it. And I must say, my music taste is very, very out there. It's everything and anything. But and when I say grime, I mean the kind of, not maybe the main ones, but I mean the sort of stuff where you can't actually understand what they're saying. It's just ridiculous. It's just mumbling. It's pathetic. And the stuff they sing and rap about is just ridiculous as well. It's just like, it just glorifies everything that's just being a failure in life. I'm going to be honest with you. I just don't like it. What I think
is, for me, right, I would quite happily listen to a little bit of Eminem over grime, because Eminem's lines you can actually understand. What is a shower song besides from Lionel Richie and Whitney Houston? If you were to bang on a song, what would you bang on in the shower?
Bieber songs are good. Justin Bieber songs are good. Old Bieber songs, new Bieber songs, they're very, very good. And even Westlife. Westlife are a great shower, band. Really good. They've got their songs usually, because they're a band, they have the various sort of, you have a verse, you have a chorus where you can kind of bring it up, and then the bridges are always very, very good, and you can even kind of do the melodies, or you can sing the main sort of song. They're very good. I mean, Eden, who you probably don't know, great artist. If you haven't listened to him, go listen to him. His songs are great in the shower. There are a lot of good shower songs, but I can't ever imagine myself sort of scrubbing myself and washing my hair, going, shut up, sit down. I just can't imagine it. Maybe I need to give it a try. maybe I need to give it a try. After this podcast, perhaps I'll give it a try and let you guys know next week, whether I think it passed the shower test. What do you think your favourite shower song is, though? When you're in the shower and you're having a sing-along, and don't tell me you don't sing in the shower because I don't believe it.
Everyone sings in the shower, let's be honest.
What is your shower song?
At the moment, I like a bit of... Because, as I said, I've got a very wide variety of music. I can be listening to Green Day, Jesus of Suburbia, or whatever. Then I can be on to Temper Trap, Sweet Disposition. It's one of my favourite songs. And then maybe, I don't freaking know, The Script, The Man Who Can't Be Moved. I think they're all...
The Man Who Can't... Oh, what a song, though.
I think they're all, and a bit of rap. I see where you're coming from. I can't see myself banging rap or grime on in the shower. You want someone with some high-hitting notes that you can hit in the shower.
You could do that Eminem and Rihanna one. That one's a decent song.
Yeah.
Whitney's got the best shower song, though, with, Well, I say Whitney. I mean, it's technically Dolly Parton. But the thing is, and I mean, we wanted to do a thing about the music thing, and perhaps we should, Lara. We need another topic. Perhaps we just continue this segment and change it into the music thing. But let's just talk about the most retarded music genre in the world. What do you think I'm going to say, Lyle?
Grime.
No, grime. Grime ain't that bad compared to this.
I don't know what you're going to say.
Heavy friggin' metal.
So what are we talking? Slipknot?
We're talking shit, though. I don't even know any of the art. They're all shit. Go on.
Yeah, go on.
Well, I'll go on. I want you to go on.
I see where you're coming from. There is, for example, literally the only heavy metal band that I know are probably Slipknot, maybe System of a Down. I don't know if you guys know any of these, but Before I Forget is a pretty good song because that's not fully. What do they call it?
Yeah, that's a great song, Lyle. I like that song. Fantastic song.
I'm speaking to the viewers at home. I'm not speaking to you. I'm not speaking to you. Because apparently they use something right because they're not using their voice box to make the absolute racket that they make. They're closing all of their. They do something weird. I've heard how they do it, and honestly, it sounds absolutely cut. That is bleeding ears. That will make your ears bleeding. Grime is a step down from that because I can bear with grime.
And see, the thing with heavy metal is you can't play heavy metal quietly. You have to play it loud, and it is just. I mean, it's almost as bad as beatboxing. That is just. But some of that's good. I have to say, although I'm not necessarily a lover of it, some of it is freaking good. I was watching the Beatbox World Championships the other day. From I think it was 2016. Or I think it's called the World Championships, or whatever it's called. And anyway, some of it's damn good, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, how is he doing that all through his mouth and this and that? I'm always thinking I'm very good at it. I'm not going to give you a demonstration on it. But although I don't necessarily like the music, it is very, very clever, and there's a specific talent. Heavy metal's not talent. It's just screaming.
If me and you wanted to do a heavy metal band, we could.
I don't know. The only thing I'd say is, when I get to a certain, I don't know that I could scream like that. My voice, I think, would just cut out.
But that's what I mean. The only reason how they can do it is that they don't use their voice box. I'll have to research up.
I know, that a lot of emos and that listen to that sort of stuff. I know that's probably not a politically correct term anymore. You're probably meant to call them. I don't actually know. I don't know. Actually, that probably is the only politically correct term. That is just reminding me of that meme. I'll try and send it to you and put it on the screen. It's the most funniest thing in the whole entire world. It's like, why do boys like this not go to my school? If I can get it on the screen at this point, the viewers are going to die. I'm dying thinking about it. Anyway, that's beside the point. But when you a little bit sort of want a nice little song before you go to bed. Can you imagine being a heavy metal fan? Laying in bed at 12 o'clock with that screaming at you. You'd never get to sleep. Sometimes I put some music on with me headphones in before I go to bed to just sort of, not calm down and not 7. You know what I mean? Just to sort of, I suppose it is calm down. It just brings stuff down, relax, get ready to go to sleep.
Yeah.
What do they do? What do they do? How does that calm them down? I don't think, after I've listened to a heavy metal song, I can't sleep for a week. You know, it scars me that much. I need counselling. It's that bad.
One thing I will say is there is a difference between heavy metal and scream music. Now, the one that I think you're referencing here that is the worst is probably scream music. Because they just, obviously, it says it in the bloody title, they just scream at you. And
yeah, but heavy metal screams at you too, Lyle. Don't try to tell me it doesn't.
No, I'm just saying, but scream music is just all scream.
Yeah, well, I know it. Yeah, okay. But this is just loud shit, Lyle. It's just loud crap.
Okay, we're talking about just loud crap. Okay.
Yeah, but what is heavy metal then?
I don't. There's got to be different. I'm not completely clued up on it, but there's got to be a difference between scream and heavy metal. I know that if I was to tell you just like, there's a line in the Slipknot song where he goes, they're not happy music. As you say, when you're going to bed, you don't want "I push my fingers into my eyes."
I push my fingers into my eyes.
Or when self-righteous suicide, all of this types of stuff. You don't want that type of. It's all. I find it very depressing.
It's all Satanist. It's all devil worshipping. It's all. Oh my god! It just makes. Can you imagine going to a concert of a heavy metal band? Oh my god! Just imagine the people there. You know,
I've seen it. I'll try and put
enough,
a
but the people there.
It is mental. You know, mosh pits. They're all mosh pitting, if that's a phrase.
You know, and it would just be like, you'd go there, there'd be 500 people there, only about 250 people would leave, because, you know, the rest of them would have bloody, you know, shot or killed themselves by the end of it. I mean, it's just a joke.
Why do I just laugh at that?
Well, it's funny. It's true as well. We'll move on from heavy metal, Lyle, and I'm now going to ask you this question.
Yeah.
You hear this a lot of the time, especially from the generations of the past. That actually kind of makes me. Yeah, I didn't say that properly. You know, older people. I'm not saying older people as in 80-year-olds, but you do hear it from them. But even our parents and even sort of 30-year-olds say, you know, music just isn't the same anymore. Do you agree that music is now shit?
Oh, I don't.
Because I don't.
Pardon?
I don't. I think times move on, you know, and I think if you were born in our time, a lot of, you know, our parents and that, you would love music nowadays. I agree, the popular stuff is trash, repeated trash. It's catchy and it's annoying because they end up liking the songs, but a lot of it is trash, talentless, poor, you know, horrific. But when you go searching, there are fantastic artists out there. Fantastic artists.
Oh yeah,
in every group, you know, fantastic vocalists, fantastic bands. You know, fantastic rappers. I know I'm not a massive lover of rap, but there are fantastic, you know, and just because the popular, you know, maybe what's popular now is poor compared to what's popular back then. But then I do sit there and I watch Top of the Pops when the repeats come out. I don't personally watch Top of the Pops, but it's on the telly. And some of the shit music that used to be out then was as bad, if not worse, than what it is now. So I think you always think that it's better after. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's very similar because, as you say, nowadays for us, music that hits top of the charts is very repetitive. And I think back in whatever day, you know, let's say 1970s, 80s, 60s, I don't know, it all sounds the same, if you see what I mean. If you pop on a couple of songs from the 70s, I think they sort of have the same riff, they're using the same instruments, it's a very safe ground that they were all going with, and it sounds very repetitive.
I agree. And I think that is, and I think there's so much more out there now that music is better because there's so much of it. And if you search for it, you know, you're going to find it. And I know there are talentless people like, I don't like Katy Perry, but she has got a little bit of talent. But there are singers who can't sing, you know, the will.i.ams. And I don't mind will.i.am, but he can't sing. You know, and there are auto-tune people, and they use auto-tune in this. But there are some really good talent. You know, Justin Bieber, and I know people laugh at me about this, but he's one of the best vocally, you know, we've seen. And he is incredible vocally. And I know some of his songs are repetitive, and some of his pop songs maybe are going with the status quo. But at the end of the day, that's what's popular, and that's what gets it. I mean, I've noticed recently people like Jason Derulo, and Bruno Mars seem to have fell off the face of the... I mean, they are just... Their music now is really quite repetitive and boring. They used to bring out some great stuff. Bruno Mars used to bring out some great songs. He's just bringing out crap now. And Jason Derulo as well. I think the kind of R&B thing recently's died. R&B is nowhere near what it was, say, 10 years ago. There are some real bangers back then. And the thing I do sit there and listen, and we are talking about popular music here, because there's a lot of great music that isn't popular and you have to search for. But a lot of popular music now has exactly the same sort of thing. It's, a verse, you get to the chorus, it's a chorus where you'll say the big line, and then there's this massive sort of musical fucking disco beat thing. And every song seems to have it, and then you repeat the title of the song. So let's say it's a song about a fucking shower gel. So you'd have blah, 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 a verse, you'd get to the chorus, and the verse is usually the best thing. So you'd have the chorus, and it'd be like, shower gel, and then it would go, do-do-do-do-do-do-do, shower gel. Do you know what I mean? But it's all the same.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know I said shower gel, but it's just because I had a bit of shower gel there. I was actually...
They do go from one extreme to another, don't they? Like, for me... let's go, I don't know, what's it called? Wild Thoughts. Is that what it's called? By DJ Khaled and all the rest, about 4 million other artists. I don't think there's much to that. The beat that he's got going on there, there's either too much or too little. Yeah. And the ones for me, like Ed Sheeran's Shape of You, there's not much to that. No. I know he's probably focusing on his amazing lyrics that he's saying, but yeah, I mean, you want a little bit more, beat or whatever they call it in the background, if you see what I mean.
But the annoying thing is those songs are so popular, and but they're popular, and I have to say, I like them at some point because they're addictive.
I mean, because they bang them on so much on the radio. It's literally unheard of not to know of or like them songs eventually.
They are catchy. Do you know what I mean? They have a catchy beat, and you can't help but sing along to them. I think the worst two songs on Ed Sheeran's album are Shape of You and Castle on the Hill. And they're the most popular two. He's got some fantastic songs on his album. Dive, like Supermarket Flowers, Perfect. There's some great songs on his album, but the popular ones are the bad ones, and that's just always the case.
Here's a question. Do you think, say for example, I don't know, Chompy Bompy brings out an album, but before bringing out the album, he releases Shape of You and Castle on the Hill. If he releases any other song on his album and he's at that much of a fame level, is it automatic that those songs do well?
Right, guys, it hasn't come back to me. I don't know what it was. I've had one of those moments where it just flies at me brain, which is bloody helpful. But we'll change, not topic slightly, but I want to say about a genre which I think gets a lot of stick, but I really like it. And maybe it's because I'm a little bit old-fashioned. Maybe it's because I'm an 8-year-old trapped in a 17-year-old body. But I like country music. Go on, laugh at me, Lyle. But I like country music. And that can get a bit samey, but there are some great country musicians out there. There's some great new country music out there. Now I've remembered what I wanted to say. We'll talk about country music in a minute. What I was thinking, Lyle, I've got a question for you. Music nowadays, think about the popular songs. Think about the popular songs of this year. For example, Despacito. That ain't a bad song. I kind of like that song. Again, it's catchy. Justin Bieber's fantastic in it. It's a kind of international song. But think about the, Work from last year, perhaps from Rihanna and Drake. Can you see songs like that standing the test of time like songs, say, 40, 50 years ago have? Like the songs you hear on the radio that are from, that are 50 years old or 40 years old or 30 years old, Do you think there will be, in 50, 60 years' time, we will be hearing on the radio, here's Wild Thoughts from... Do you think that those sort of songs will stand the test of time? I'll let you speak first and I'll give my opinion because I was the one asking the question.
I personally... For me, it's probably going to be a little bit biased because I don't like that type of music, so I sort of don't want it to. But because in this day and age, Justin Bieber, Drake, Rihanna, they're all the big artists, so surely they have to be in 40 years' time. I don't know, maybe if I'm sat here and I'm 50 some odd and I've got my kids and I'm going, I was listening to that. Oh, that's a horrible thought. But, I honestly think it will because of just... how in this day and age how big songs can get and how they can take our generation by storm, if you see what I mean.
I don't know. I think the songs I can sort of. I don't think Wild Thoughts and stuff like that, generic kind of songs, are going to stand the test of time. Can't see it. But what I can see are songs like "See You Again."
Yeah.
That I can see standing the test. There will be one or two, but there won't be loads. And I think the other reason is because it's now a lot easier to release music and to produce music, a lot easier than what it was. There's so much more of it, so it's much more difficult for songs to be standing the test of time. You know, you think about songs that were massive, say, even 5-10 years ago. You don't really ever really hear them that much. Because when you hear them, you're like, holy crap, I haven't heard that song for 5 years. But then there'll be a song from the 70s, which you'll hear and you'll be like, oh, I heard that last week. Do you see what I mean? So we're already seeing that that's happening. There will be one or two that will stand the test of time, but I don't think loads will. But then again, I suppose you could say loads probably haven't from that generation. There's probably people sitting there who grew up through the 70s and the 80s who have got music where they think, well, that didn't stand the test of time, but that was, you know, massive. So perhaps it's that. I don't know, but there are certain songs that I see come along that I think, like "See You Again," where I think that is going to be a song that will be popular for a long, long time. You know, I mean, it's difficult to judge those type of songs, but I think you just know there's that kind of feeling around it in it that is going to last.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing I hate about nowadays is how songs get this kind of cult following, like Gangnam Style. I mean, what a horrific song. You know, what a terrible song, but became one of the most popular songs ever, and it's just wank. Do you know what I mean? But it gets that cult following.
Maybe that's definitely the fault of the internet, because surely there's loads of artists out there who are absolutely rubbish, who are founded off of being on YouTube and on the internet. But then again, there's loads of artists that are founded on the internet who are amazing.
Yeah, I think the internet's certainly changed the music industry. You know, chart shows aren't as relevant now. I used to love the charts. I still kind of do watch it, but a lot of it's now just
back in the old days. Like Reggie Yates on a Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't even do it anymore, does he? I always used to listen to that. I mean, but you know, I know people like our mums and dads would say back in the day, that's how you listen to music. You didn't have access to music that much like we do. You didn't have access to thousands and thousands of artists and thousands of songs, thousands of albums. You know, you listen to the chart show, you listen to Top of the Pops if you're in the UK or whatever, you know, the equivalent was in other countries. And that's where you got your music. That's where you got your songs. You didn't have that many songs. You couldn't listen to them 24/7. And I suppose that's just, you know, how things change over time. Is that to say it's better or worse now? I don't know. There's some great artists from the past. Whitney, George Michael, what a voice he had. I mean, honestly, you know, even Michael Jackson, a kick of pop. You know, there are so many great artists, the Beatles, stuff like that. You know, there were some fantastic artists, but I think there are some fantastic artists now. Adele, you know, is incredible. You know, and I know a lot of people don't like Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber's incredible. There are some incredible artists. And people like Adele, I think some of Adele's songs will, you know, going back to what I was just saying, will stand the test of time. You know, someone like you will stand the test of time, in my opinion. You know, that's a great song. Anyway, back to the country bit, briefly. What's your thoughts on country music, Lyle?
I'm not a fan, but I can see certain songs me taking a liking to. It's just not really for my taste, to be honest. I don't know, there's always a stereotype about, you know, coming from America and that parts and liking that type of music, but anyone can like anything, but it's just not really my cup of tea.
No, I do. I love country music, and I know it's a lot. The thing that makes me sad about country music is it is dying because people our age don't like it, and I think people our age don't give it a chance. I think if people started listening to country music, I think they'd actually go, actually, this is pretty good, you know, I actually don't mind this, and I do like the American lifestyle, you know, the American dream, the family, I just like it. You know, maybe if I ever moved to America, I'd realise it ain't like that, but I just like it, and country music, for some reason, makes me feel really warm, and I don't know, you know how different music gives you a different feel? This kind of gives me a warm kind of feeling. I don't know, it's strange, but I do like country music. You know, is there anything you want to say about this topic, Lyle? I'll put you on the spot again. So
for me, I like a bit of classical. Sometimes like a bit of Wagner or Beethoven or anything like that, I don't mind having Classical FM on, because it's something that you can have in the background. If I'm editing a video, I don't mind putting a bit of classical music on.
God. Oh
and
God,
I think maybe... Pardon?
Gives me nightmares. Classical music gives me nightmares. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it does. I don't mind opera singers, and I don't actually mind classical music, but I hate Classical FM.
Oh, I hate opera.
There's got to be lyrics. There's got to be opera. I can't deal with classical music. I don't know. It haunts me out.
I think it's music without any vocals or singing is much better, because then you get to start to individually hear like the different instruments. But if there was like an opera singer, you wouldn't necessarily be able to hear.
Well, I don't know.
If you see what I mean.
And I like Susan Boyle. I loved some of her music. I thought that was great. And some of the opera singers on Britain's Got Talent and that I think are fantastic. And I love choirs and gospel singing. Some of my favourite. I love that. Gospel singing is fantastic, and I want to go watch some gospel choirs. And I want a gospel choir to win Britain's Got Talent badly, and I just want a choir to win Britain's Got Talent. And the feeling you get from listening to an opera singer is just, you feel it. You really feel that music. But classical music does scare me, and I don't know why. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it just does. I can't help it. Right, so we had a little bit of a technical issue there, which we haven't actually had at all, believe it or not. So we apologise about that. We hope we didn't talk over, but I'm sure Lyle will do a good job with the editing. We'll probably bring this kind of topic to a halt, maybe. Just perhaps because... I mean, we could go on and on and on and on and on, but we have got a few other topics that we do want to quickly, briefly talk about, and we are running quite late into this podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast and you want this this topic, and you want it to kind of continue on, let us know some points that we can bring up, and by all means we'll continue it. I always think it's nice to have a little chat about music and stuff like that. Maybe you want to know a little bit more about our music taste, artists we like, songs we like, stuff like that. Lyle, you were a drummer, weren't you, back in your day? Drummer Austin, so
yeah,
you can probably give us some insight into that. So if you want to hear that sort of stuff, make sure you let us know. But I think that's going to bring the end to what was an impromptu topic, if that's the right word, where we decided to talk about the music industry. So I hope you enjoyed that. Nobody was expecting it, not even us, so we were unprepared, but I don't think we did a bad job. Let's move on to the next topic, which is going to be whichever the next topic we decide, which made no sense.
So if you were here for last week's podcast, you would know that me and Cam did predict Game Week 1's result. Well, it wasn't the results, the winners of last week's games. And we're basically here. I'm going to reveal how many we got right and wrong. And then Cam is going to do the predictions, and I'll write them down for next weekend's games. So we start off with Arsenal versus Leicester, and it should have been, Leicester should have got something from that game, but Arsenal did come through to win it 4-3. Me and Cam both predicted Arsenal to win that game, so that's 1 point each. Then it was Liverpool versus Watford. That game finished 3-3. Me and Cam predicted Liverpool to win, so we don't get any points for that. Then Burnley versus Chelsea.
Can we just not talk about that one loud, please? Can we just hurry up? Look, move on.
Nobody got any points for that because we both put Chelsea. And now we go into Huddersfield versus Crystal Palace. Cam put Huddersfield, and that was right, because they did win 3-0. I put Palace, and that was wrong. So Cam is currently 2-1 in the lead. Now Cam goes on. Everton versus Stoke. Cam predicted Everton, so he's currently 3-1. I said a draw, so that was wrong. So Cam is 3-1 up. And now Southampton versus Swansea. That finished 0-0. We both predicted Southampton, so nobody gets anything from that. Now we've got the West Brom game. West Brom versus Bournemouth. Cam predicted a draw, and that was wrong. I predicted West Brom to win, so I get a point for that. So I've brought it back to 3-2. And now the Man City versus Brighton game. Man City obviously won that 2-0. We both predicted Man City to win, so that is now 4-2 to Cam. And here we go. We're getting tense now, Cam. Now, Newcastle versus Tottenham. Cam predicted a draw. I predicted Spurs to win, so I gain another point back there. And finally, Manchester United versus West Ham. We both predicted Manchester United to win. So I don't know if I've made a mistake on this, if it's very confusing. But by my calculations, the overall scores, Cam got Arsenal right, Huddersfield right, Everton right, the Man City game right, and Man United. So that gives him 5 points. He got 50% of the games right. And I got the Arsenal one right, all the way down to the West Brom one right, the Man City one right, the Spurs one right, and the Man United. So by my scores, we both tied on 5 points each.
That's what I think. And I cocked it up with the bloody Tottenham
So that
prediction.
brings it to 1-1 on the first game week, so it's all square.
What a game week, though. Incredible. 4-3 against the Arsenal-Leicester game. What a game. Watford-Liverpool, 3-3. The first 3 football matches I watched of the new Premier League season. 4-3, 3-3, 2-3. What the hell? Chelsea had a horrific week. We don't want to talk about it. We'll move on, though. United with a good win for you, Lyle. Let's move on to this week. So we are level. Not for long, because I'm about to win this show. Not that it's a show. Swansea City versus Manchester United. It's the early kickoff. Will Man United and Mourinho make it 2 wins out of 2? Or will Swansea get their first W of the season? What are you going for, Lyle?
Man United win.
I will be going exactly the same. AFC Bournemouth looking for their first win of the season at home after their away defeat this week to West Bromwich Albion. Face a Watford side rampant with confidence after that late equaliser against Liverpool. Who you got, Lyle?
I'm going to go draw for that one.
I'm going to go for a Bournemouth win for Eddie Howe's men. Next up, Burnley, fresh off shocking Chelsea, the champions on opening day, face West Brom, who are also winners on the opening day. Burnley at home, great record at home. West Brom away from home. Well, they're indifferent, really. Sometimes they turn up, sometimes they don't. What you got, Lyle?
I'm going to go West Brom. They'll just nick it, I think.
I'm going to go for a Burnley win. Next up, we've got Leicester City, champions from 2 years ago. Far off that now, but could be a better season for them. They're facing Brighton, who lost to Manchester City on the opening day. You'd have to say Leicester look promising. They're at home, new signings. Surely you've got a Leicester win, Lyle. Have you?
Yep, Leicester will win that one, I think. Quite comfortably, I'm going.
I've got a Leicester win too, although promising signs from the Brighton side defensively against Man City, although they just couldn't hold on. We've then got Liverpool versus Crystal Palace, both off the back of disappointing results, both looking for the first win of the season. The Boars side looked horrific against Huddersfield. One of the biggest shocks of the weekend. Obviously, the Burnley one's, the massive shock, but Huddersfield beating Crystal Palace away from home 3-0 is a pretty big shock. So both teams going to want to bounce back. No Coutinho, at least, would you expect for Liverpool. Played midweek as well. Can you see Palace upsetting the pool, or are you going for a home win?
I would like to see them upset Liverpool, but I think Klopp will sort them out and they'll get a W in that game.
I'm going for Jurgen Klopp's men 2. We then got, I think, what could be very, very exciting. Southampton. An okay start to the season, but a draw. No goals again for Southampton at home. Extends that record to a new club record of the amount of games in which they haven't scored. I think it's 5 or 6 games in a row now where the Saints haven't scored a goal at home. They faced West Ham United, who were absolutely destroyed against an informed Man United side, but nonetheless were destroyed. Are we going to see these new signings for West Ham click against Southampton, or are Southampton finally going to score and get a win at home?
I think West Ham are going to do it. I think West Ham will beat them. I think Chicharito and Arnautovic will click, hopefully.
I'm going to be going for a Southampton win. Next up, we've got Stoke City versus Arsenal. This game is always fiery. The one place you don't want to go, the Britannia Stadium. What's the saying? Can you do it on a cold, wet, windy night in Stoke? Many players can't. Will Lacazette be able to do it on a cold, windy... Well, it's not going to be Wednesday, is it? And it ain't going to be a night. It's going to be a Saturday evening, though, I suppose. So it is kind of a night. Stoke City, are they going to get their first win of the season after what was a disappointing result against Everton, but they didn't get blown away? Arsenal lucky against Leicester, looked terrible at the back. Can Stoke exploit that? It's Stoke Arsenal. Who have you got?
I'm going to go a draw. That's what I'm going for, yeah.
I'm going to go for an Arsenal win. They're going to make it 2 out of 2. We've then got newly promoted Huddersfield Town versus Newcastle United. Newcastle looked good against Tottenham all until John Joe Shelvey decided to be a complete and utter spanner. Huddersfield, off the win last week at home. First time that they're going to be playing. They're playing their first game at the John Smith Stadium. Who have you got? Is it going to be the side that won the championship last year, or the side that have already got 3 points in the Premier League?
I think it'll be Newcastle.
I'm going to go for the Huddersfield. I'm going to go for the town. I like them. I think they're going to do it. It's going to be another win. They're going to be top of the table. Next up, we've got Tottenham Hotspur versus Chelsea. Tottenham got the W against Newcastle this week. Got their season off to a start. Kyle Walker's Peters replacing Kyle Walker. Yes, you heard me right there. Against a Chelsea side. Lack of signings, terrible bench. Hazard, Bakayoko, Pedro, Fabregas, Cahill all can't play. Could be a disaster. We've only got one centre midfielder who is fit, that being N'Golo Kante, and he might be a great player, but he can't do 150 million jobs. It's Chelsea-Tottenham. Surely you've got Tottenham now.
I think Spurs. I think there might be quite a big upset. Spurs will win it quite comfortably.
Well, no, that's not going to be an upset, is it? In the slightest. It is the most likely scenario. The upset will be if Chelsea turn up and win. And I believe in the Blues. Alvaro Morata to score 7 goals. Chelsea to win 99-0. I'm going for a Chelsea win. And finally, the last game of the weekend in what is a big, big weekend. Some great football matches. We've got 5 3-o'clockers. And on Monday evening, Manchester City and their new team, made up of a lot of new players, not really a new team, but you know what I mean, is going to be tested by an Everton side who beat Stoke City and look good. Is Rooney going to haunt the blue side of Manchester again? It's Manchester City, Everton. I've got Manchester City. Who have you got, Lyle?
Oh, God. It could really go either way. I think it'll be City. City will take it, yeah. So, this isn't something that I've had to do yet during the 5 episodes of the podcast. Basically, after the Premier League topic of predicting the predictions and whatnot, Cam then basically moved on to say and talk about a really good topic about the protests that were happening over last weekend in America, but I don't know why, but for some reason his audio messed up, and it wouldn't make sense if I uploaded it for the bits that are good and are decent, because it just jumps all over the place. 1 minute he'll be talking about the protests, and then for some reason it will go back to the start of the podcast. I have no idea why it's happened, guys. I do apologise. It was a really, really good topic. If it's any consequence or anything to you guys, if it's still a topic that you would like us to talk about for next week, make sure to let us know down in the comments and drop a like on this video. But there's also the really bad terrorist attacks that happened in Spain last night, as I'm now doing this today on the Friday. But I'm sure we'll talk about those terrorist attacks more in the next podcast. But I do apologise about that, guys. Follow us all on our social medias. They're all on the screen now. Me and Cameron all on Twitter and Snapchat and all the rest of it. Just do want to take this couple seconds to thank everybody who was in my 24-hour live stream that I did do. We raised over £100 for charity, which is absolutely insane, guys. And on my channel, there will be a video coming in the next few days, hopefully, of me dyeing my hair purple, because I did say if we did manage to raise over £100, I said this when we were at £30. If we did manage to raise £100, I would dye my hair purple. So that video is going to be coming in the next up and coming days. Thank you to everybody that was generous enough to donate. It's absolutely amazing what we've done. The 24-hour stream was so good as well. And thank you to everybody that stayed up during the night with me, because I thought it would literally be just me. But there was 10 people at some points during the early hours of the morning. So thank you very much for all your support, guys. I do apologise once again as to why that topic did mess up in Cam's audio. There's not much that I can do about it. I think Cam's in London today, and I probably wouldn't be able to get the video out to you guys till Monday. So I do apologise about that, but thank you very much for watching the 5th episode of the podcast. Drop us some suggestions down below on any topics that you would like to us to talk about in the next up and coming episodes. And also, if you want to predict your next predictions for this weekend's game of football in the Premier League that is coming up, make sure to drop them down in the comments. But yeah, drop a like on the video if you have enjoyed it, guys. Once again, I apologise about that mishap with the audio. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.